disturbing, I'll be honest with you. Okay, listen.
I knew someone stole my Casio.
Yeah. I'm sure that's Kraftwerk.
Wow.
Oh, Computer Love, right. We used that for the Row Report once, didn't we? Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I didn't like it then either. All right, now listen. Listen. Are you aware of the fact that your computer may be on the fritz today? You know about this?
Yes.
If you have suddenly lost access to the internet, do not panic. Doesn't mean that your PC has recently been infected. It may have been infected for years. And the FBI was keeping it going.
What?
Now, that alone should disturb every politician in Chicago. What, the FBI was keeping my computer going? What?
I'm confused. Tell me more.
Where? How? Oh, don't just rely on me, my friend. Now, it's interesting. Now, just bear with me for a second here, because this can get very technical. It can get very confusing. It can get very confusing very fast. A criminal enterprise created and unleashed a piece of malware. That's software that's bad.
Yeah.
That's mal. Mooey mal.
I used to think that was malware, and it was like knockoff clothing you bought at shopping malls, but then I realized it's a different thing, spelled differently.
And this malware is called a DNS changer. To explain what the hell that means is Kim Kommando.
Yes. Kim Kommando.
The digital goddess herself is right here. And I've been reading this story. Now, Kim, we've known each other a long time. You know I'm not the smartest guy when it comes to all of this, but I do try hard.
But you know what? But you do really good things on the radio. So
yes,
that's what's more important.
That's really important. Yeah, this is as far as you know. Now, here's the thing. Still to this day, having read about 16 different versions of the story, do not understand what has happened.
Okay.
So just explain, what is this DNS changer? What's going on?
Okay, here I'm going to do it in 30 seconds. Okay. All right, so you have some bad guys that figured out some way to make some money. And so they spread some malware, some badware. And what it did is it changed people's DNS records. And a DNS record is just a domain name server. That's all it is. And so what that means is that instead of typing in a whole bunch of numbers to get to a web address like 64.217, is that you can type in things like WLS.com or Kommando.com.
Right.
And so the bad guys went in, and so when you typed in Kommando.com instead of going to Kommando.com, well, you were served a whole bunch of ads first before you got where you were going. So the FBI got wind of this.
Now, were these ads stealing anything off your computer, or just advertising false stuff to you? What were these ads doing?
They was like sending you ads for Viagra and pharmaceuticals and all that other stuff.
Was that legitimate? I mean, as legitimate as that stuff is, or was it just a scam?
It was just a scam.
Okay.
Okay. So the FBI gets involved, and they want everybody to do their antivirus software and stuff. But the FBI says, okay, here's what we need to do: is we need to set up our own domain name servers. And so that instead of these people going out to the bad sites or getting on this advertising, they're going to go through the FBI's computers. And we will make sure that they don't get the advertisements, they don't get the scams, but they still end up where they want to go. Okay? So the FBI is just the middleman.
So why would the FBI be the middleman ever? Why didn't they just have a private company do this?
Because it was spread throughout the world. And it wasn't just being served by a couple of computers, by a whole bunch of computers, primarily in Eastern Europe.
Was the FBI doing any kind of other surveillance while they were doing this?
Not that I'm aware of. But, of course, there are conspiracy theories all over the Internet saying that this is what the government is doing. They're tracking my every keystroke.
Okay.
So the FBI steps in. They set up all these computers. And initially, there were over 500,000 people that were infected, and then there was 277,000, and then as of last week, there were 64,000 computers that were infected in the United States. And today, the FBI said, you know what, we are tired of dealing with this. We're going to shut our servers down. And so because our servers are going down, if you've got this malware in your computer, you're going down too, baby, because no longer will you be able to connect to the Internet because you were going through our server.
Because this was a patch
yes.
to help people whose infected computers. It gave them a safe, even though we don't know this, the computer knew it, that the computer was going to this safe harbor set up by the FBI as opposed to going to the bad guy's computer, and that was just a short-term patch. if you had, and again, now you're going to lose me here, Kim. This is how fast I can fall off the pier. What if you had this other kind of, what other antivirus stuff that you've got on your computer? Your McAfee or McAfee. How do you pronounce that, by the way?
People pronounce it.
Whatever. That stuff.
You got AVG and Norton and
right. Would that
Security Essentials?
Would that fix it?
As long as your antivirus software is being kept up to date, yes. But the problem is that if you were one of the 64,000 fools, is that this malware also turned off your antivirus software. So it looked like it was working, but it wasn't really working. And so the FBI, again, set up this website for people to check their DNS entries. And if you got green at this particular website, you were good. And if you got red, then your internet was going dead. And so, but as of today, we haven't heard from the 64,000 people. So it's like...
we will before it's all done. But if it turns out that they're down to just 64,000 now, we're able to figure this thing out. So when did this happen? How long ago?
Oh, that's a really good question. It's been happening for a couple of years, and the FBI server's they've been running close to 10 months now. But what I think is interesting.
So if your computer is less than a year old, you probably don't have this problem.
No, and but what's interesting about this is that how they were able to shut down the bad guys, but also how there is so much money that's being made. There was a group in Russia that was making somewhere in the range of, that they admitted to, $700,000 a month off of people participating in these scams and malware and badware.
So if you get, and I get this even on my email, and I get texts even, which is very strange, and apparently these people are very well aware of all of my sexual problems because they're trying to sell me Viagra and enlargement tools and all kinds of, it's like, they are completely figured me out. So is that, like if you go and you go, oh yes, I need to get that, and then you send them a credit card, they're just stealing your credit card information.
They're stealing their credit card, or you have signed yourself up to a monthly club of $75 a month, and it's only going to get worse because, up until a couple of weeks ago, and Apple didn't really. They didn't issue a press release about this, but a couple of weeks ago, some language on the Apple.com website changed overnight. And suddenly, on the pages that said why you should buy a Mac, it used to say because Macs don't get viruses.
Now they know.
Now it says, we will try to keep you safe. And you're like, hey, wait a minute. What's going on here? And so if you have a Mac, an iMac, a MacBook, just know that you're not immune. The
viruses anymore. They figured out there's enough of a market for that now that they've gone into it. All right, Kim, thanks very much. Appreciate it. Kim Kommando, you can hear her Saturday nights. The digital goddess, as far as I'm concerned, the greatest act in computer radio history. 7 to 10 Saturday nights right here on WLS. Thanks, Kim.
Thank you.